is Amara Wynn, and this is the author series, or Between the Margins, where I sit down with indie authors and talk to them about their process with their books. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hello. If you're listening to this on a podcast streaming app, hello to you as well. Today, I am going to be interviewing L.A. Thompson, and I'm very excited. She has a new book that just came out. I can't wait to talk to her. We've had to really work on our times because she is in Australia. So I am very excited about hearing about her book. I did read one of them, so I'm excited about learning more. And let's go ahead and get the basics out of the way. This is still a fairly new channel, whether it be on Spotify or Apple or here on YouTube. It's still fairly new. So if you wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, sharing with a friend, that would be great. I don't have that many, but that's okay. I do post clips on my TikTok and on Instagram, and those get a lot of hits and reviews. So I would love it if you guys could just like the entire channel and stay tuned for more updates over on Spotify and the Apple Podcasts and all of those. I am currently going back and putting all of my old YouTube videos up on there. So give me a second. I'm getting there. So like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Comment if you would feel so inclined to do so. I hate asking. It is my least favorite part of doing these videos. Also, I myself am an indie author. My book, boop, right there is More Than I Expected. It came out at the end of last year. It is a contemporary romance that has some comedy. It has some mental health issues, anxiety, dealing with trauma and grief, but all in a very light way. And it's a very sweet book, and I would love it if you would read it. I'm currently working on the sequel right now, and I am working on a collaboration with another author for a young adult novel, and I have another one coming out as well. So hopefully all of these will be out before the end of the year. That's enough about me. Let's go ahead and jump straight into L.A. Thompson. Future editing me here. There is a delay from her conversation to mine. So I do want to point out because she had to get on her phone to do the interview, and I was here and she's in Australia. There was a slight delay. So I may have run over her a little bit or vice versa, or it may seem like awkward pauses, but there's like a 3 second delay from what I'm saying to what she's hearing. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, now we get back to the interview. Hello, my name is Amara Wynn, and I am here with L.A. Thompson. Hello.
Hi.
We're going to call her Lauren throughout this process, but she goes by L.A. Thompson for her writing name. And you are an Australian author, a freelance writer who creates imaginative fantasy, worlds filled with magic, danger, adventure, and unforgettable characters from steampunk fantasy to the Isle of Dragons and to the fairy tale charm of the Prince and the Witch, which I thought was interesting. And now your stories invite readers into worlds where courage, mystery, and wonder collide. Now you have a new release that's coming out, or it's already out, called The Trinity Crown. It's just newly released, and it delivers a high stakes fantasy of forbidden magic, sisterhood, secrets, and rebellion. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm good. It's morning here in Australia and it's pretty wet outside.
Yeah, we did have to do some collaboration on times, given that I am in the US and you in Australia. It's 6 o'clock at night, our time. So, how's the
Okay.
future? Because you're already in tomorrow.
Yeah, the future is it's pretty good. It's looking really rainy down here.
Can you throw some rain my way? That would be great. So, tell us about your books.
Um, well, I love fantasy. I love anything to do with fantasy. Yeah, I grew up just reading, Ursula K. Le Guin and just kind of loving the never-ending story and and I just wanted to, recreate just that kind of wonder and joy that fantasy gives while also you're making a commentary on the world and um this is the Trinity Crown. This is my fifth fantasy book now, and I'm just excited that it's out here, and I've created something that's kind of different from what I've done before, while also taking inspiration from my other books, from my fantasy trilogy in terms of like the steampunk and the fantasy. But I think I went a bit deeper into the world building this time around.
So I first of all, you said never ending story, and all I could think about is the horse and the just feeling sad. And I think that scarred every Gen Xer. As someone, I don't know how old you are, but as a Gen Xer, I'm still scarred from that. But your latest series, which is the Trinity Crown, there's going to be three of these books, I'm assuming.
Yes, there is. There's a sequel in the works at the moment, and yeah, I'm now planning to have three of these books. Yes.
Okay, so it opens up out the gate with really high stakes. So, what first sparked the ideas for Prin and her sister and this world as a whole?
Well, yeah, this sounds actually kind of strange now looking at the story, but it started off as a King Lear retelling. Um,
Oh, okay. I have not I've read one of your books. I finished one last night. This is not the one that I was able to read, but that really makes me interested to read it. Now you have the concept of the Trinity Crown as it's something that's coming alive. Is that right?
yeah, the Trinity Crown, it's made up of has three gemstones in it, and there is like a whole mythology behind that, how the gemstones came to be embedded in the crown, and um, a whole story about what happened to the sisters' ancestors, and a conflict that happened, and there's this whole lore around it that affects the sisters now and their choices, and it's very much about legacy and what they choose to do with that legacy going forward.
So you have a lot of mythology that's kind of built into it. What excited you the most about the mythology portion of it? Was that just a lot of research, a lot of creativity?
Yeah, like the mythology and the lore, it started building more and more as I wrote the story. I started, studying about geology, and how that relates to the magic in each of these gemstones, and each of the powers. Like there's elemental magic, and there is a gemstone that relates to each of the four elements:
I like that.
air, earth, fire, water, um, and yeah, I started looking into that and how it relates to it. The three of the gemstones are like the precious gemstones: emerald, ruby, and sapphire. And air, which is considered the cursed one, is like semi-precious, which is more fragile, and it's azurite, and it can. And actually, there's like some points where Pren, where her air magic turns green, and like putting on my geology nerd hat for a moment, like azurite like does kind of weather and turn into malachite. When it's under stressful circumstances, if it's out in the air too long, it turns from like a sky blue or blue into a green, into malachite. And when she is stressed, when she is dealing with exhaustion, her magic turns from blue to green, and that's actually sort of a reference.
Oh, that's cool. Now she's an air mage in a world that fears magic, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
What
Particularly air magic. Yeah.
what drew you to writing a heroine who was powerful but was also hunted?
Yeah. Well, I've done that before. I've done that in my Isle of Dragons trilogy, and I just was just drawn to the idea of someone who is struggling to deal with their powers, what it means, and how to use that in a certain way. And yeah, it was just really interesting to me. And Prin herself, um, she's considered different, and she is kind of on the autism spectrum. She is supposed to be neurodivergent, and that is something I wrote into the character. And her magic is kind of her way of dealing with her way of being different in the world. And it's that's how I actually wrote the character. And like these things aren't like super obvious, but I just kind of slipped them in subtly because that's just what I wanted to explore.
I think you are the fourth person that I have interviewed that has talked about making their character neurodivergent, and I am here for it. It really is an interesting way to write characters. How did you relate? Like, are you able to relate to that in some way or okay.
Yeah, as an adult, I got a diagnosis of ADHD, and I am sort of on that autism spectrum. So I wrote Prin with that in mind. And when she's like using magic, she's like constantly twirling magic around her fingers, and that is her stimming. That is her
I love
um
this.
processing the world around her. So
Representation. Look
yeah.
at you. I love that.
It's never
Especially having
it's
a
never
child who's
said.
autistic. I think that's great.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think, you don't really see that many heroes who are blatantly, neurodivergent in some way in fantasy. I mean, you have the Percy Jackson series, which is incredible, but you you don't have a lot of characters, especially heroines who are blatantly neurodivergent in some way. And
So
yeah,
true.
and I don't use the word neurodivergent, but it's there. It's there.
I think that's amazing. And you're right. There's just not a lot of representation of women or girls who are the heroine because I don't, and I don't know why. So I'm actually really excited to read this book. We will get to the one that I did read, but that makes me much more excited. I mean, I'm already excited because the one that I did read, I loved, loved. And since you have so much more world building in this one, I'm very excited about it. Now you kind of weave the whole idea of forbidden magic and the betrayal and corporate power all together. Were there themes when you were writing this book that you were like, yes, I'm going to make sure that this is in this story?
I Yes, I mean, as I said, this was supposed to be a King Lear retelling, and it was meant to be from the sisters' perspective, and it was meant to be about them fundamentally rejecting competition, the rejecting the whole tearing each other down for power, and examining some of those power structures that were in place. And I kind of put a modern twist on it by making it about, corporate power and this corporation taking over their home and having to kind of perform for them. And basically, the home, everything around them is being commodified
Right.
for this corporation, and they have to keep performing. And they eventually reject that for each other. And that was the core theme, that was everything. That was the theme that drove everything else, that they reject this idea that they have to tear each other down for power, for competition, and kind of putting a corporation in there, put this modern day twist in there that I really wanted to explore.
Yeah, and I imagine that you explored it beautifully. And I love the fact that you've included sisterhood as such an emotional like center of this book because I think we are sort of in a society where women are more tearing each other down than they are lifting each other up. So it's exciting to see. Now, I can already tell this is going to be a very action-packed book, but I also imagine that you're going to have a lot of emotional character arcs and development. So when you're planning it, what comes first? Your character development or the action?
Well, I think, yeah, the action came first, and yeah, the story changed very drastically as I was writing it. It was kind of, I think, I wrote from, it was almost a tragedy at first, like drawing on that King Lear
Yeah, King Lear is
inspiration.
tragic.
It was far more of a tragedy at first, and I'm like, this is getting too heavy to write now. This is getting too much. This is, like, I want this to be a subversion of a tragedy. I don't want it to actually be a tragedy
Smart.
anymore.
When your own book is dragging you down, you know it's time to pivot to something else. I love that. Yeah, it does seem like there would be a lot of, I mean, just given the process of her like magic being forbidden, it could very easily like lean the way of tragedy. That's got to be hard to balance.
I mean, it was, but I think that what I had to do and where I had to change the story to achieve that balance was to have it, always come back to the sisters, to that bond, and that that it can't be broken how many times outside forces and conflict within tries to break it, it doesn't happen. And I think that's constantly what I had to come back to, because in earlier versions it kind of was a breaking more, and there was more tragedy around that, and around the elder sister in particular.
So, since you write fantasy, and I can't even comprehend the idea of writing fantasy. I mean, all of my stuff is like modern, contemporary. The idea of writing fantasy scares me.
That
How
would be hard for me.
yeah, I love reading fantasy. I just don't the world building scares me. How do you approach the world building? And you must just have like a crazy imagination because it all kind of plays out in your head like a movie, right? So, how did you approach the world building with this one?
Well, yeah, I took a lot of inspiration, as I said, from my trilogy that I wrote, and it was originally going to be a continuation of that, like a spin-off from it, and it takes names of places and basic ideas around the world, but it goes in a different direction. But my idea for the trilogy I wrote was kind of just, how can I do something different in fantasy? How can I do something different? That it doesn't feel like it's the same thing over and over again with the whole medieval castles and wizards and magic. And I thought, okay, how about we throw technology in here?
I
How about we
love
we
the
make
technology and the steampunk. I am here for it. I, I, okay, I'm sorry. Continue. My bad. You did
no,
make
no,
it
you're
so
fine.
different.
I'm like, okay, but it didn't. I didn't want to just like throw it together and feel like I'm just mashing two things together.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel like there was a whole world where these two things existed organically, and that there was a whole history behind that, and how that originated. And so I started looking into that, and yeah, I just took a lot of inspiration from a lot of things I love. I am a big fan, and it really shows in all my work, of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and
Same.
it does sort of touch on those kind of themes. And like the original concepts for that was that it was going to be more of a futuristic type of world, and where there were like robots and machines running around. And I actually kind of wanted to do something like that, where there is that fusion of two worlds. And so, you know, when I write worlds such as like Isle of the Dragons, the Trinity Crown, it isn't quite a medieval fantasy, because I always want things to feel like it's stuck between two worlds, and people are trying to navigate what those things mean, and where they are sitting in the world. It's sort of like in an industrial era where they're stuck between the world of magic and the old ways and the new ways with technology, and they have to find kind of a balance between those two things.
See, you make me excited about the idea of world building because I have not explored that at all. And I know from reading one of your books that you do a beautiful job making you feel like you're sort of in this story. But I'm curious, when you were deciding with Prin, she kind of she kind of had to become everything. Like she was a weapon and a thief. And how did you work on and I guess evolving her story and her journey? Like, was that hard for you? With I don't really know what I'm
Um,
asking. I'm just wondering how do you as an author approach that emotional journey that I am myself trying to figure out with one of my own characters right now? Teach me your ways.
okay. Well, I guess, yeah, her story, you know, it revolves also around her sisters and how she relates to them as well. That she's always trying to figure out how she can, you know, I think she struggles a lot with feeling like she is a burden, and you know,
Mm.
because she's often told that she's cursed, and having to figure out her way through life through that lens. And so that's how she relates to others, and how she tries to yeah, she has a lot of empathy for others. She tries to help others. Her heart's always in the right place, even if she, you know, she just charges through without thinking sometimes. She she's always trying to help people. And I think that how I handled her journey was really looking at how she wants to be seen by others, and um, working out the person she wants to be. You know, does she care how other people see her, or does she care about the person that you know, she going to define who she's going to be, rather than let the perception of others define who she is as a person. And that is how she carries through her journey, and how she you know, she becomes a person who other people can depend on, people who her sisters can depend on, because she always wants to be there for her family and always wants to be there for the people she loves. And I guess, you know, that kind of heart, and combined with her insecurities, is what really drove her journey for me.
I'm going to be buying this book tonight. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about reading it. Now, when someone, okay, when I close the book or when I swipe, because I'll be reading it on Kindle, when I get to the last swipe of the page, what do you hope that the readers are taking away from this book?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this the bond between the sisters, because you know, I just put so much of myself into this book, and my struggles with, you know, with mental health and with life, and with being neurodivergent into this book, and through feeling different, and that feel that, you know, there is hope. You can find it through connection, and through, you know, um, defining who you are as a person rather than letting the stories that people tell about you rather than any outside factors defining that for you. So
You're
that
so
is what I was.
lovely. You're so lovely. Okay, so your Isle of Dragon series,
Hmm.
read the first one. That is magical and adventure and imaginative, and I really enjoyed it. And it's kind of the reason why I was excited about reading your next book. Um, you said that there's going to be some like similar DNA from that book into this one, or to that series into this one.
Yes, yes, there is like yeah that fusion of magic and um the fusion of magic and steampunk, and there are some place names like Marda. This is about the kingdom of Marda. This is about and yeah, it does, and the Isle of Dragons is mentioned in this story, and but it does feel different in terms of world building, and it does feel different um, in terms of I think it's a little bit more mature. It's still YA, but on the higher end of YA. And yeah, it's not exactly the same, but it does take a lot of inspiration from past books while feeling like it is a little bit different. And this one is this new one. It's set on a planet. It's set on a different planet that has uh, elemental magic and gods that represent the four elements, and so it is a slightly different world from Isle of Dragons.
I really
While
liked Isle of
taking
Dragons. I wish I had like a kid to give it to that would, but I don't. But it is so good. It's so much fun. But you've also
thank
written
you.
the Prince and the Witch. Like, how do you go from like steampunk Isle of Dragons to like almost a fairy tale of the Prince and the Witch? Like, that's a big, vast genre change.
Yeah, I just wanted to do like a kind of fairy tale. I'd written a short story years ago, and yeah, I had given it to an editor, and they said, this reads like it needs to be longer, like it needs to be maybe even a novella. Maybe you should expand on this idea. So so that's exactly what I did.
This is I
And
did you which one did you enjoy writing more? Can I ask that? The the Prince and the Witch or the
I
Isle of
invested
Dragons?
I love The Prince and the Witch, but I it just invested a lot more time into the Isle of Dragons because I was just spending a lot more time on the world building and the characters, and I enjoyed coming up with um the Prince of Witch and expanding on that, and but it's sort of like a short character focused novella where the Isle of Dragons is just a different um beast altogether because it's bigger and it's more sprawling, and I had to put a lot more energy into coming up with character arcs that spanned 3 books.
Did you plot out all three books ahead of time?
I had a basic idea of all 3 books beforehand. Things obviously evolved a lot along the way, but yeah, I did have a basic idea for the character arcs going into it. Yeah.
These books have gotten really good reviews. I went back to look to see what kind of reviews you had gotten, and they've gotten great reviews. That do you read your reviews?
I do sometimes. Yeah, yeah, I do.
I'm
Um,
too scared to.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Let's just hope for the best
I
that
can,
people liked it. But if it were bad, I'm not sure what I would do with myself.
yeah, I completely get that. Yeah. I mean, people feel about how they're gonna feel, and you can't do anything about it. But
That's a healthy way to look at it.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not healthy like that. Now, have you had the Trinity crown plotted out for the upcoming three books? Do you know what you're gonna do?
I stayed up late last night brainstorming the second book. I wasn't even sure I was gonna do a trilogy at first. I thought I might just do one book, see how that goes, and then later on, I thought, oh yeah, I want to explore this world more. And I did look at a review that said that they crave more of my world building in this book. So I thought, okay, yeah, I want to explore this. I want to do more, and I have ideas of where I want to go. I thought, let's do this.
When you, Again, as someone who does not world build like you do, but I am fascinated by it. When you're building these very imaginative worlds, what part of that is your favorite part? What's the most fun when it comes to world building?
Um, I don't like just doing the mythology part of it, coming up with these ideas that I hope, are um, beautiful and whimsical. They are to me, and I just hope that they are to other people in this latest book. Without too many spoilers, there is a flying dragon turtle with an island on it. So yeah, and a city is going to be built on top of it. So yeah.
Creativity that I
Some
don't
people,
have.
I mean, I'm going to assure you right now, I am not taking any drugs.
I was thinking it, but I wasn't gonna say it.
Yeah, yeah, whatever Terry Pratchett was taking remained Discworld.
I mean, these are questions that the people want to know when you're writing about a city on top of a turtle floating through the sky.
Yeah, it's gonna come up. It's gonna come up. Yeah.
Someone's going to be sitting back going, "Oh my gosh, what was she on when she wrote this?" I love it. I love your creativity. I wish I was creative like that. I'm just not. It makes me wonder when you were writing your new series. Well, let me ask this. For those who really enjoyed the Isle of Dragons, what do you want to tell them to make them want to read this book? Just do it. Just read my book.
Um, well, I think it has, some of the things that people said they liked from Isle of Dragons. It has, um, it has characters that I think have deep relationships. That it's got a lot of action. That it's got, I think, world building that I hope will excite people. And um, yeah, I think it does have a lot of the heart that was in Isle of Dragons. Well, um, being a bit more mature in some ways and exploring some moral complexities around what it means to be trapped in certain um, in situations in life you don't want to be in, but having to navigate through that to survive. And I think that that's kind of an interesting angle. And yeah, so I would just hope that if you enjoyed Isle of Dragons, that you would also enjoy this, and that weird world building from there.
And no, she is not on drugs. Just make sure we put that out there. Now, do you have sisters?
um I do have people I do have a sisterly relationship with. Yes, I don't have biological sisters, no, but I do
It can be
have
chosen family,
people.
doesn't have to be biological.
I have people I grew up with practically as sisters. My parents were friends with their parents, and we kind of basically grew up together. Yeah.
Is that what inspired the idea, your friends and you and or your family, your chosen family, your sisters? Is that what chose you? Is that what helped you choose to have like a sister relationship in regards to the being like the heartbeat of your story?
I mean, it was part of it, you know, just all the kind of, you know, the chosen family I've had, you know, throughout my life, because I kind of grew up as an only child, really, and
Oh,
and I just developed those that chosen family throughout life. So, I mean, yes, this is a, you know, biological bond because it's based on King Lear. The original concept what came from King Lear, but you know, the bonds throughout are based on just my life basically, and you know how I've found family throughout my life.
I I get it because I have a lot of chosen family. I've got biological family as well, but I'm really close to my chosen family. So it's actually kind of nice to read about siblings in a book that actually don't want to tear each other down. But I have to wonder of all of the characters in your books, including this new one, which one would you trust the most in a crisis?
Um, oh, that's a good question. Um, you know, maybe not print it first because she's always kind of leaping ahead of the. I think later on, yes, definitely. Yeah,
Poor Prin.
but she's dependable. She is dependable as you go on. But I think maybe the eldest sister Helena, definitely because you know, she's kind of the leader, holding the family together, and I think yeah, she always tries to be dependable, and I think yeah, definitely Helena. Yeah.
Of all of the characters that you've written, which character would make everything worse in a crisis?
Um, I mean, I mean, at first, you know, Prin believes in just throwing magic at everything, that's just going to solve everything if we just throw magic at it.
Poor
And
Prin.
and that's her at the beginning of the story, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
And and you know, if we're looking at um at Isle of Dragons, I think maybe it's probably Kaylen because she kind of does in book two make everything worse.
That's
Um,
exciting.
yeah,
If you were gonna
yes.
hand if you were gonna hand a person who's never read any of your books one of them, what should they read first?
Um, yeah, you know, I really think that the Hidden Library book two is is one of my strongest books, and I would definitely like people to read it. I think you can read it without necessarily reading book one in the series, and you know, people have approached me about that a lot and said that, you know, this is the one that resonated with me in that Isle of Dragons series the most. And I'm hoping people will love the Trinity Crown and that they will see something in that. But yeah, if you're going to start, I would maybe say like kind of the yeah, maybe Isle of Dragons, and in particular, um, The Hidden Library, because yeah, that one is it is more complex than the first one, and it is kind of about a conflict between Jade and Kaylen and their moral code conflicting with one another, and that was just a really exciting one to write. And it was a one where I felt, I I know who I am as a writer. I found my identity as a writer with that one. I felt like I was still sort of finding my feet with the first Isle of Dragons book, and but you know how, as you write, you feel like you're finding your identity more as a writer. And that was the one where I felt like I know who I am as a writer now.
I'm always afraid to go back because I don't know about you, but I've written a lot of things and then put them aside, never to pick them up again because it just wasn't going to become anything. And I've gone back to reread them thinking, can I make them something? And then realize that my writing was so bad that like I had no idea what my voice was supposed to sound like. The idea, because I just did this recently, I wanted to kind of cry at how terrible it was. So at least you figured it out quickly. I mean, I'm excited to continue that series. Besides are you going to be exploring any other worlds besides this? Or are you going to just lock in on this series until it's done and then start something new?
Well, I've like been, debating a lot with myself where I'm going to go next, because I have another kind of uh, heist sort of fantasy planned that is set in the same world as the Trinity Crown is set in, and it would, explore a kingdom that is mentioned there, um I've been sort of tossing up between, do I finish the Trinity Crown series first, or do I do this kind of spin-off there? And I think I am looking now at finishing the Trinity Crown and doing that next installment in there at the moment, and then later on coming back to this story that I've been wanting to write for a really long time, but I think, I'm not quite ready to finish it yet, and I need to stay with the sisters, the Madonna sisters, as I know, in the Trinity Crown a little bit longer before I go to this new story.
Yeah, I have a terrible fear that well, it's not even a fear. I know this. I usually have three things going at one time. Because once I get stuck on one, I move on to a different one until I get unstuck with that one. Or when I get tired of writing it, I can move on to something different. So I always have three books going at one time. Now, are they any good? No, probably not. Will they ever get published? No, probably not. But it gives me a chance to take a break from the world that I have built, even though I don't have the kind of world building that you have. And again, I will compliment that because I wish I had that skill. I am jealous. Where
I
can
could
we?
not write a romance. I could not write a romance in the contemporary world, so please, I
A
would
lot of mine
be,
is not
I would,
I'm terrible. I'm like, it's romantic comedy. It has romance, it has comedy, but it also has a lot of mental health stuff. So if you can relate to that, you could write it just fine.
I definitely want to check out your book. And, if I tried to write a contemporary romance, I would try to like put a dragon in where the dragon would be flying in the middle. They're sitting at a coffee table, and there's a dragon going past. Like, no, stop it.
That's what my book is missing. That is what my book is missing is a dragon. I do ghost writing and I'm currently working on like an urban fantasy, and it is so much more fun to write than a romantic comedy because you can really put whatever you want to in there. I'm I but I'm doing it off of their outline, so I didn't create any of it. I want your mind. I'm very excited to have been able to talk to you today. You are lovely. I can't wait to read your book. Where can we find your book?
It is currently just on Amazon, but it's going to be on, all the online retailers soon. You're going to be able to get it on Barnes and Noble. In here, if you're in Australia, you can get it on what we call Booktopia, and yeah, it's going to be everywhere soon. So I'm working on that with my publisher. So you're going to be able to get it in all places soon.
Now, who is your publisher?
Turtle Publishing.
Exciting. And how did you get uh for all those who were out there trying to find a publisher or an agent or anything, do you have any tips?
Well, this is like just kind of like a indie self-publisher type of company, and I'm just working with them at the moment.
But you can just
So
pass it all over to them and they take care of it?
yes, she's been handling distribution. She's been helping me to optimize my keywords. She's been helping me with advertising. So she's been great.
I'm
The
jealous.
person who yeah.
We all need someone like that in our corner. You're lucky to have that because it's hard out here as an indie author.
It is really hard. Like the whole just publishing, getting it out there and marketing, that can just feel really overwhelming.
I never thought I would say that the writing of the book was the easy part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everything else has been a nightmare. I mean, I love doing it, but I've had to quit worrying about the analytics of who was seeing what and who was doing what and who how many likes or how much engagement and just try to have fun with it because it can be way too overwhelming and make you feel very bad about yourself.
True. Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Well, you have been lovely. I will have your books across the screen on here so everybody can see them. I'll link everything that I can find. Do you have a website?
I do. I will send you the link to that if you like. So
Yep. And I will put it on the screen with everything else and down in the convo, the description of the video.
all right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me.
You were great. This was what I needed today because today's been tough. So having a fun interview is what I needed. So thank you for entertaining me for an hour.
This was great. So yeah, I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.
Yep, come back when your next book is out and we will promote that. But otherwise, have a great rest of your day as I'm finishing up mine.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.
Bye.